Who let her in here? The question cut through the precinct briefing room like a blade. Laughter followed, low, dismissive, practiced. Captain Reynolds didn't even glance up as he flipped through case files. This isn't a college classroom, he added. We deal with real criminals here. The room shifted. A few officers smirked. One lifted his phone just enough to record. At the back, the intern stood still. Mid-20s. Black. Composed. Her badge hung slightly crooked, like she didn't quite belong. But her eyes, they weren't nervous. They were measuring. I'm here to learn, sir, she said calmly. Reynolds chuckled. Then start by staying out of the way. She nodded once, and stepped aside. No argument. No reaction. Just silence. And as she turned, her phone lit up for half a second. Encrypted line active. She muted it instantly. No one noticed. If you're ready for a story of silence, betrayal, hidden truth, and a moment that changes everything, then you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because Silent Voices brings you powerful stories where the unheard finally get their voice. Drop a fire in the comments if you believe justice always finds a way. Let's get into it. The precinct ran on hierarchy, ego, and unspoken rules. And from the moment she walked in, she was at the bottom of all three. They called her Intern, like it was a diagnosis. No first name. No identity. Just a role, small, temporary, disposable. By 9:20 a.m., she'd already been handed her first assignment. Coffee. 6 orders. All different. All specific. Make sure mine's right, Officer Daniels added without looking at her. Last intern couldn't even get that. A few chuckles followed. She wrote everything down. Not just the orders. The voices. The tone. The names. Every detail, captured in neat, deliberate handwriting. When she returned, she didn't rush. Didn't fumble. Each cup placed exactly where it belonged. Daniels took a sip, paused, then shrugged. Guess even beginners get lucky. She said nothing. Just moved to the next task. Filing reports. Then sorting evidence logs. Then organizing dispatch records that hadn't been touched in weeks. Work no one else wanted. Work no one thought mattered. But patterns lived there. And she saw them. Missing timestamps. Duplicated case numbers. Reports that didn't match arrest records. Small inconsistencies, repeated too often to be accidents. Across the room, Officer Klein leaned back in his chair, watching her. She's trying too hard, he muttered. Yeah, another replied. Won't last a week. The intern didn't react. Didn't look up. But her pen slowed, just slightly. Then continued. At 11:05 a.m., the first real shift happened. A conversation, half whispered, half careless, near the evidence desk. Tonight's pickup needs to stay off record. Already handled. Dispatch won't log it. And the girl? A pause. Then a quiet laugh. She won't know what hit her. The intern's hand stopped completely. Just for a second. Then she turned the page. Wrote something new. Different. More precise. Across the room, no one noticed. No one realized. The quiet intern they'd dismissed all morning had just found something. And whatever it was, it wasn't small. By early afternoon, the tone had shifted. Not softer. Sharper. Captain Reynolds didn't like unpredictability. And the intern, quiet, observant, unshaken, was beginning to feel exactly like that. Unpredictable. Let's see what you actually know. The words came without warning. Briefing room. 12 officers. 1 screen. And her. Standing alone at the front. Officer Daniels leaned back with a grin. Basic stuff, he said. Shouldn't be too hard, unless the internship requirements have dropped. A few laughs. A phone angled upward. Recording. Define probable cause, Reynolds said. A trap disguised as a test. She didn't hesitate. Reasonable grounds based on factual evidence that would lead a person to believe a crime has been committed. Her voice was steady, measured. No nerves. Reynolds' expression tightened, just slightly. Daniels leaned forward. Chain of custody? She answered again. Precise. Clean. Unshakable. The room shifted. Not respect. Not yet. But something close to it. Reynolds closed the file in front of him with a soft snap. Anyone can memorize definitions, he said coldly. Out here, things get messy. His eyes locked onto hers. Let's see how you handle that. He tapped the screen. A case file appeared, open, active, sensitive. Walk us through it. A murmur rippled through the room. That wasn't standard. Interns didn't touch active cases. She stepped forward anyway. Studied the file for less than 30 seconds. Then began. The arrest time doesn't match the dispatch log. A pause. The reporting officer signed off before the suspect was processed. Another pause. And the evidence intake form was logged 12 minutes before the arrest occurred. Silence. This time it held. Not because they didn't understand. Because they did. Reynolds' jaw tightened. Coincidences, he said quickly. Or patterns, she replied. The word landed heavier than expected. Across the room, Officer Klein shifted in his chair. Daniel's smirk faded. For the first time all day, the balance tilted. But Reynolds wasn't finished. He leaned back slowly. You're overstepping, he said. This isn't your place. She met his gaze. Calm. Unmoving. Then where is my place, sir? The question hung in the air like a challenge wrapped in politeness. Reynolds didn't answer. He didn't need to. Instead, he turned to the room. Meeting's over. Chairs scraped. Conversations resumed. But something had changed. The laughter didn't come back. Not fully. Not naturally. Because doubt had entered the room. And doubt spreads. By 2:10 p.m., the consequences began. Her access badge stopped working on 2 internal doors. Her workstation login was flagged for restricted permissions. And a notice, quietly circulated, labeled her as under review. No announcement. No confrontation. Just pressure. Systematic. Deliberate. Across the hall, 2 officers spoke in low voices. She's digging. Then shut it down. How? A pause. Then, we make her the problem. At 2:47 p.m., her phone vibrated. A single message. Unknown number. You're being set up. Check internal report queue. She didn't react. Didn't even look at the screen immediately. Just finished the file in front of her, then stood. Walked, calmly, to the terminal station. Logged in. Accessed the internal queue. And there it was. A draft report. Filed under her name. Unauthorized access. Evidence tampering. Protocol violation. Every charge cleanly written. Ready to submit. Her eyes scanned it once. Then twice. Memorizing everything. Across the room, Officer Daniels watched her carefully. Waiting. Expecting panic. But she didn't move. Didn't confront. Didn't defend. Instead, she closed the file. Turned. And walked out. Leaving the room exactly as it was. Except now. She knew. The hallway outside was quieter. Too quiet. Like the building itself was holding its breath. She moved past the bullpen without stopping, her pace steady, controlled. No urgency. No hesitation. Because panic would confirm everything they were planning. And she wasn't about to give them that. At 3:05 p.m., she reached the lower records wing. A section most officers avoided. Old systems. Slower terminals. Less oversight. Perfect. She logged in using a secondary access point. Not her assigned credentials. Another layer. Another identity. The screen flickered, then opened. Encrypted interface. Clean. Secure. Her fingers moved faster now. Pulling dispatch logs. Body cam archives. Evidence intake records. All cross-referenced in real time. What looked like small inconsistencies before began to connect. Arrests logged after evidence processing. Reports signed before incidents occurred. Case numbers recycled across unrelated files. Not mistakes. A system. Structured. Intentional. Her phone vibrated again. This time, a voice came through, low, controlled. Status. She didn't look up. Confirmed, she said quietly. Multiple violations. Coordinated. A pause on the other end. How deep? She scanned the screen. Badge numbers. Names. Repetition patterns. Command level. Silence. Then. Time? Her eyes flicked to the clock. 3:18 p.m. 40 minutes, she replied. Another pause. Understood. Hold position. The line went dead. Upstairs, the situation was escalating. Captain Reynolds stood inside his office, voice low but sharp. File it now, he said. Before she moves. Daniels hesitated. What if she already? She hasn't, Reynolds cut in. She doesn't even know what she's looking at. Outside the door, Officer Klein shifted uneasily. Feels off, he muttered. Reynolds turned toward him slowly. Then you're welcome to join her when this goes south. That ended the conversation. Back in records, she finished compiling the data set. Every file. Every timestamp. Every contradiction. Linked. Organized. Irrefutable. She exported it to a secure drive. Then paused. Just for a second. Because this was the moment. The line between observation and exposure. Once she moved forward. There was no going back. No cover. No silence. Her phone buzzed again. A single message this time. All units in position. Your call. She looked at the screen. Then at the clock. 3:29 p.m. 11 minutes. Upstairs, they were preparing to destroy her credibility. Down here. She had everything she needed to dismantle theirs. She closed the system. Removed the drive. And stood. Her reflection caught briefly in the dark monitor. Still calm. Still composed. But different now. Decided. As she stepped toward the door, one thought settled in. Clear. Unshakable. They thought they were ending her career. They had no idea. They were walking straight into the moment that would end theirs. At 3:40 p.m., they called her back in. The same room. The same table. But the atmosphere had changed. Not relaxed. Tight. Controlled. Prepared. Captain Reynolds stood at the head, a printed report in his hand. Sit, he said. She didn't. I'll stand. A flicker of irritation crossed his face. Fine, he replied. This won't take long. He placed the document on the table, sliding it toward her. Unauthorized access. Evidence interference. Breach of protocol. Each charge landed like a verdict already decided. Around the room, officers watched in silence. Some curious. Some uneasy. Daniels leaned back, arms crossed. Didn't think you'd make it past day one, he muttered. No one laughed this time. Reynolds clasped his hands behind his back. You have two options, he said. Sign the report, or we escalate. A pause. Then. Which means? Termination. Possible charges. The room stilled. Waiting. Watching. For panic. For fear. For something. But she didn't reach for the paper. Didn't argue. Instead, she stepped forward. Past the table. Past the report. Straight to the central terminal. What are you doing? Reynolds snapped. She didn't answer. Her fingers moved across the keyboard, fast, precise. The screen behind them flickered to life. One file. Then another. Then 10. Body cam footage. Dispatch logs. Evidence timelines. All layered. All synced. What is this? Daniels said, sitting up now. She stepped aside. Let the screen speak first. 9:12 a.m. Evidence logged before arrest. 1:47 p.m. Reports signed before incident. 2:03 p.m. Dispatch rerouted off record. The room shifted. Not confusion. Recognition. Reynolds stepped forward. Turn that off. She didn't. Instead, she reached into her jacket. Pulled out a badge. Not precinct issued. Federal. The room froze. My name, she said calmly, is Special Agent Amara Jackson. A beat. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Silence. Heavy. Total. I've been undercover for 6 weeks, she continued, investigating internal corruption within this department. Reynolds' face strained. Daniels didn't move. No one did. You weren't testing me, she said quietly. Her eyes swept the room. You were documenting yourselves. The first sound wasn't a voice. It was the door. Opening. Slow. Deliberate. Then boots. Measured. Coordinated. 3 federal agents stepped inside. Followed by 2 more. The energy in the room collapsed instantly. Authority had shifted. Completely. Captain Reynolds, one agent said, voice firm. You're being detained pending investigation into multiple federal violations. No, this is a mistake, Reynolds snapped, stepping back. You don't have jurisdiction here. Amara didn't raise her voice. Actually, she said, we do. She gestured toward the screen. Tampering with evidence. Falsifying reports. Obstruction of justice. Each word landed like a hammer. Daniels stood abruptly. I didn't do anything. I just followed orders. Sit down, the agent cut in. He did. Fast. Across the room, Klein stared at the floor. Silent. Processing. 2 agents moved toward Reynolds. He didn't resist at first. Just stared at her. You set this up, he said, voice low. From the beginning. She shook her head. No, she replied. You did. A pause. Long enough for it to settle. You just made it easy to prove. The cuffs clicked. Loud. Final. Daniel's composure cracked next. I didn't know how deep it went, he said quickly. I can cooperate. I'll talk. You will, an agent replied. Formally. Phones were confiscated. Files secured. Names recorded. Everything that once protected them, now exposed them. Reversed. At the edge of the room, Klein finally spoke. Softly. I knew something was off. Amara turned toward him. And you said nothing. He didn't respond. Because there wasn't one. The silence said enough. Minutes later, the room was emptying. One by one. Officers escorted out. Voices lowered. Confidence gone. And at the center of it all, she remained. Still. Composed. Exactly as she had been when she walked in. Only now, they understood why. As Reynolds was led past her, he stopped. Just for a second. You think this changes anything? He muttered. Her expression didn't shift. It already has. A beat. Then he was gone. And for the first time that day, the room was quiet. Not tense. Not hostile. Just still. Because the system they trusted had just been dismantled in front of them. And it started with the one person they thought didn't belong. 3 weeks later, the precinct didn't feel the same. The noise was still there, phones ringing, radios crackling, but something deeper had shifted. The arrogance was gone. Replaced by caution. By awareness. By the quiet understanding that someone could always be watching. Internal affairs had taken over 2 entire divisions. Files once buried were reopened. Cases once dismissed were now under review. Names changed on office doors. So did attitudes. Officer Klein still worked the front desk. Quieter now. More deliberate. He greeted people differently. Listened longer. Spoke less. Across the bullpen, new supervisors walked the floor, less interested in control, more focused on accountability. And in a corner office that once belonged to Captain Reynolds, the blinds stayed open. No more shadows. No more closed-door decisions. Amara stood there briefly, looking out over the city. The same streets. The same people. But a different system beneath it. Her phone buzzed. Report filed. Operation closed. She read it once, then locked the screen. No celebration. No satisfaction. Just a quiet certainty. This wasn't the end. Just one correction, in a much larger system. She turned and walked out. The way she came in. Unnoticed. Until it mattered. Have you ever watched something happen, and said nothing? Not because you agreed, but because it felt easier. Safer. More convenient. Moments like that don't seem important at the time. Until they are. Until someone gets hurt. Until the truth finally surfaces. Stories like this aren't rare. They happen every day, in places where power goes unchecked. So the real question is, what would you do? Would you stay silent? Or would you speak, before someone else has to prove it for you? If this story made you think, share it. Because awareness is where change begins.